Welcome to chapter 9 for the Substrate course, and here we'll be authorizing nodes in our network. Now all the commands that we'll go through are mentioned in this file which has been shared with you. So you just have to come to the doc and just copy and paste these commands, but I'll take you through them in the actual terminal. So I'll execute those commands, but if you are not able to write the entire command on your own, you can just come and copy paste from here. Also, there's one important thing that I want to tell you is that at the end, towards the end of this chapter, we will open up the Polkadot portal in our browser. Now the link for the Polkadot portal is here. I've put the link here. So once you have your nodes running in the server and you come and click on this link, it will open up the Polkadot portal explorer, which is the Patika.js app in your browser, and that will then connect with the blockchain that's running on your server. Okay, so just wanted to get that out of the way. Now with all of that information, we can get started. So I am in the folder where I usually have kept my node 1 for Substrate, which I have been working on till now. And the first thing we'll do, we'll say cargo build release. Okay, that's what we'll do, and it takes a while, and my build has been optimized and generated. Now what we'll do is we will open up our code editor, because we want to add some dependencies in our project. So what we'll do is we'll go to runtime, the runtime folder. Okay, the runtime folder, and there's a cargo.toml file. Here you're supposed to add one thing in the features. So there's a feature section, so you can just go and search for it. So features, when you search for features, you have to add this line, which is palette node authorization standard /standard. And in the top, in the dependencies, you have to add this palette node authorization default features false version this, and make sure the Polkadot, the branch that you select here, branch is equal to Polkadot, is it matches all the other branches out here. Okay, if you don't do that, if the branch doesn't match, this entire build will fail and you'll get a lot of errors. So we just have to add two things in the cargo.toml file, which is one is the dependencies, the other is the feature. And I've these are both for the node authorization palette, and I've mentioned this in the file that I just showed you, so you can copy and paste from there in case you have some confusion. But then once we've added these, we want to make sure everything works, right? So what we'll do is we'll come here and we'll check. So we'll say cargo check -p runtime template, sorry, node template runtime. So it's node template runtime and release, and just to see if everything is all right, everything works. Yes, so I didn't get any errors, everything works pretty fine. That's awesome. Now open up your code editor again, and now we have to add an administrative rule. So we'll go to the runtime src and lib.rs, and here we will add something called as a administrative rule, which is this use frame system ensure rule. So just go ahead and add this line. Now we'll implement our config trait. So we'll again be in the runtime src lib.rs file, and here we have to find our parameter types. So here you can see the parameter types, and here we'll add two parameter types. Now these are also mentioned in the doc file I've shared with you. So you'll add two max_val known nodes and max peer id length. So these two parameter types you'll add, because parameter types we will be using later on. So we need these two, which are both public and constant. So add these two constants in your code. Okay, and now we have to work on the implementation. So we'll go to implementation, and let's find the one which is relevant to us. Actually, it's the implementation of palette palette node authorization. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this entire thing we have to add, okay, in our code. So this again is mentioned in the document. If you come here, so firstly you had to add the dependencies that I showed you, then the features that I showed you, and then you check, and then you add this admin trait, admin rule. And now when we are adding trait, we have added the parameter type. So these two lines have been added by us in the runtime src lib.rs file. And now the implement section has has to be added. So this, you just have to copy and paste this entire implementation section. And here we'll get, we're basically, as you can see here, we're using the constants that we just added some time back, right? So we added those parameter types, maxwell known nodes and max peer write length. So those are the ones that we're using here in the implementation. And now in the contract runtime, we have to add a little bit of more code. So contract runtime. So it's construct runtime. And here is where you'll just add one line, which is for node authorization. Okay, so we've added the palette. So this is the palette or node authorization, and this is what we added. So in the cargo.toml file, if you remember, the dependency and the feature that we added was for palette node authorization, and that's the one that we have added here in the construct runtime, so that a substrate knows that in the runtime it has to use this node authorization palette as well. And these are our other palettes that we're using at this time. And now that we've added this, everything is saved. We will again go ahead and check if everything works. So here again, cargo check -b is the same command, node template runtime -- release. Finish, and everything works fine. Now we will again open up the code editor, and we're done with the runtime folder. So in the node folder, we've entered the node folder again, and here we have our cargo.toml file. We will locate the dependencies and add this dependency called PS58. Okay. So because the peer ID that we added in the previous folder, in the runtime folder, the peer ID, that needs to be of the format PS58. So we need this. That's why we're adding this. And make sure the version is 0.4.0. And once you've done that, we open up the chainspec.rs file. And here at the top, we will use these two lines, which is spcore opaque peer ID and node template runtime, which is node authorization config. So this is the config, Genesis config that serves the palette that we have already talked about. We've already added this palette to our code, the node authorization palette, and we want this to be in our runtime. And at the same time, we will locate the testnet. Yeah, so this function, you have to locate the testnet Genesis function, and here you have to add a little bit of code. Okay, so this has the initial configuration storage state for frame modules. So here you will go ahead and add this code right here, the function testnet Genesis, this part. So this is the code that you need to add here inside this Genesis. Okay. So here, as you can see, I've added this entire code here for the node authorization palette, authorization config, and with the opaque peer IDs, and these peer IDs have been hard coded here, and that's all the configuration. Now, since we've added all of this, we again have to verify if the code compiles. So we'll go say cargo build release. As you can see, it finished compiling and everything works fine. It took me 1 minute, and that's perfectly all right. Now, before we move forward, I just want to tell you that Substrate gives you the keys by default. So you get keys for the Alice account, the Bob account, Charlie, and Dave. And these are the four things that we'll be, four accounts that we'll be using. So they all come with their own node keys, and these node keys we'll be using. Now, Substrate shows you how you can change the key if you wanted to. So for Charlie node key, you can add something here, echo, and that will change it. But what we'll do is we'll use the standard keys available to us. So we won't change anything around, but in case you want to do that, you can do that. But I won't be changing any of the four keys around. And what I'll do now is I'll actually start off the nodes. So the first node, the command is mentioned in the document. The first node command is this. So you start off the first node as Alice with the node key, which is the default node key for the Alice account. And I will start this. Okay. So as you can see, the server is running for Alice, is running perfectly. Now I'll go ahead and start the, because it has 0 peers, so I'll go ahead and start the other account from Bob. So I'll just navigate into the folder where I keep everything, and I think it's Substrate node template. Okay, and here I will enter the second command for Bob, as you can see, with Bob's node key, and here again this will start. Now you can see it says discovered here. That means everything is working perfectly fine. Both these guys have discovered each other, and here you can see one peer has been found. So now what we'll do is we have to add a third node to the list of well-known nodes. So these are our two well-known nodes. So these have started, but when we add a third node, that won't be a part of this network. So we'll have to actually authorize it from our front end. And that's the whole point of this tutorial, to show that just one node who wants to enter into our network, he can't, that node can't just do that directly. So it needs to be authorized from the front end. So I'll show you. So let's open it up here. Okay, let's add a third node. First, I'll navigate into the and here is where I will enter this key for Charlie. So I'll enter Charlie's address, Charlie's node key, and I will start off a third node. But the thing is, you won't see the peer that they've not found this peer yet. So the Bob and Alice nodes are in connection with each other, but the Charlie one has 0 peers, because this has not been authorized yet to interact with these two peers, right? And that's what we will do now with the help of the front end. Okay, so remember the link that I told you for the Substrate portal. So you have to go ahead and open that in your browser, the one that's embedded in the Word document. So go ahead and open that, and when you see this, you have to click on developer, you have to click on sudo, and here you have to select node authorization, and you have to select here add well-known nodes, and copy and paste the hex encoded peer identifier for the node Charlie. Okay, so here there's we'll put a prefix like 0x, and here you have to select Charlie, the count ID. Okay, and here you have to add Charlie's address. So the third node, which has 0 peers, which is Charlie, here you have to go ahead and find Charlie's local node identity, which is this. So you have to copy and you have to paste it here. Okay, and I'll just reconfirm it if it looks same, because you might have something else on your clipboard and you might have copied the wrong thing. So just want to make sure it's the same. Yeah, so in my case it's the same node that I've added, the same address. So this is perfect for me. And now I will go ahead and click on submit sudo. Now in the authorize transaction pop-up, which is this, note that the Alice development account is the default. So right, so we're sending from Alice. Okay, and sudo has been selected. All right, and then now you can just click and submit. And once it's done, we will go ahead and click on the network tab and select Explorer. And in the Explorer section, we'll view the recent transactions. So this was just added by us, Charlie, right? And this is perfect. So this is exactly what we wanted. So now that means Charlie will be able to interact with the rest of the blockchain nodes. Okay, so now we have to allow connections from a subnode. So what we'll do is we'll again open. So this has been opened up. So we'll if you don't have this open up, please open this up again in your browser. Okay, so what I can do is I can actually close this and open it up again in my browser. So I'll just close it and open it again here. Okay, and now we'll click on developer and extrinsics and select again node authorization, and here we'll select add connections. Okay, now we're doing this because we're adding a fourth node in this network, which is Dave. So we've already added Charlie. Now we're going to add the fourth node, which is Dave, and that's what we're doing here. And now we'll we have to copy and paste the Charlie's node again here in the opaque peer ID. Okay, so for the connection parameter, this is the connection parameter. We will go ahead and add Charlie here. So let me see if it's already there in my, yeah, it's already there. And now in the other one, we have to add Dave's. So one way to find out Dave's key is to go here in the documentation. I'll leave a link here, and you can just get Dave's key directly from here automatically. And you can go ahead and add Dave's key. Okay, and you can submit transaction. And we can sign and submit. Now we haven't started the sub node, which is Dave by now, right? Before we do that, we have to actually we have to actually claim the identifier for this node. So what we'll do is we'll again open up the Polkadot substrate portal here, and we will claim this subnode. So Dave is going to act as Charlie's subnode here. So we'll open up the Polkadot substrate portal. We'll click on developer and on extrinsics. We'll select node authorization and claim node. Okay, and here we just have to copy and paste Dave's key and then sign the transaction. So let's go ahead and find Dave's key and submit transaction. Now we're ready to start the subnode. So I'll just minimize all of these, and I will start the subnode, which is Dave. So I'll go ahead and I will cd into and I will enter the command to start off another terminal as Dave. And now we have to authorize connections to this subnode. Okay, so by now we've told our network that, hey, we have Charlie, we have Dave, and we have claimed Dave's ID, but then we have to allow connections to this subnode. So that's the last step. To do that last step, again, open up your Polkadot substrate portal like this, and click on developer again and extrinsics again. Select node authorization, and here select add connections, and copy and paste Dave's identifier here. And here you will copy and paste for the connections, you will copy and paste Charlie, and here for the opaque ID you will copy and paste Dave's. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll find both Charlie and Dave. So we've pasted Charlie's, pasted Dave's, and then we can just submit the transaction and then sign and submit. All right, so that's the entire all the steps, and we have added 3 different nodes to our blockchain and 1 subnode, which is Dave. So we've added Alice, Bob, Charlie as nodes, and Dave as a subnode of Charlie, and we've used our front end blockchain explorer to be able to add and authorize connections to all of these nodes. So this was quite a complex tutorial, and I hope you learned a lot. So we have reached quite a distance here in our learning of Substrate. We have created built a blockchain of our own. We've started off different nodes. We have set up connections between nodes. In this case, and in the previous video, we started having like an authorized way to access our blockchain, and now using the front end, we're able to authorize and unauthorize different connections to different nodes. So I hope you have learned quite a bit, and in the next videos we'll take our learning forward. Thank you for watching.